my beautiful Patreon family. It's a joy to be with you for this very special Astro Weather Report all about the eclipse on December the 4th. This will be a new moon or solar eclipse on December the 4th. Now, I also want to remind you, because the times are so dark, I want to support you as best I can. And I've reduced my reading prices in some cases by up to $50. I don't know how long I'm going to leave them at this price, but I'm going to try to do so for as long as the darkness is being felt. Remember that you have discount codes as well, my precious Patreons. So use your discount codes if you need a reading for support right now. Very happy to be there for you in whatever way I can. So the discount code will apply on top of the already discounted price. Couldn't get a better bargain at the moment. So I'm going to be taking you through the chart of the eclipse. We're going to be looking at the new moon, looking at new moons in general, what they bring, and then we're going to be exploring the Sagittarius new moon. We're going to do a ceremony for Sagittarius new moon, and then we're going to explore the nature of the solar eclipse and this solar eclipse's Saros cycle, and then we're going to look at the effects of the eclipse for each sign. So it's a lot of stuff to get through. Thanks for joining me. So let's look at first at the chart of the eclipse, and we're using 5-degree orbs for this, no more than that. We want it to be tight so that we can succinctly see the results of this energy. Now, this is the shape of the eclipse. As you can see here in Sagittarius at 12 degrees, we have the moon and the sun in a conjunction. And here is Mercury. Actually, I think to be correct, I think Mercury will have overtaken the sun by this point, but it's very much within the conjunction of 5-degree orbs. So Mercury is a big part of this eclipse. So what does it mean to have a new moon in a conjunction with Mercury? Well, it means that there's going to be a focus on thinking and communications, maybe even a focus on short distance travels and our localized connections. Mental alertness, quick thinking, adaptability, and curiosity are going to be at the fore. So we might find these things a bit more heightened in our lives, might be more curious about certain things. Our thoughts will be punchy right now. We will be feeling more adaptable and more flexible because of Mercury's involvement with this new moon. There's also increased potential in personal interactions in your neighborhood, with siblings, schools, over the internet. So you're going to be talking more, writing more, communicating more, texting more. I mean, as if we need to do that more. Everybody's always on their phone these days, but it will be an increased energy with Mercury part of the eclipse. And so it's a busy time as well, with lots of appointments and meetings and social activities. New information that comes to light will be a part of this eclipse, and big decisions to be made. So there will often be, for many people experiencing this eclipse pertinently in their lives, the need to make a significant decision. Now that's quite the potent influence of Mercury in this combination, because eclipses bring unexpected events. We're going to talk about what eclipses bring shortly, but eclipses always bring unexpected events that turn our life around, especially if they fall in conjunction with a significant part of our chart. And so, to me, Mercury's situation here is saying there's going to be a decision that people need to make that's going to turn their life around. So also Mercury's involvement can have to do with sharing of ideas with other people, making plans, buying and selling, negotiating, meeting new people. These things are prominent. You might have a new person come into your life. You might be sharing concepts and ideas in a way you've never done before. You might have the opportunity to buy or sell, maybe, some Bitcoin, or maybe a property or a car or something like that. There might be some sort of significant life buying or selling that occurs because of the influence of this eclipse. Remember also, so that's Mercury's involvement and the energy that Mercury's going to put to things this Saturday in Australia, the 4th. Check your time in your part of the world through the description box below where it's going to be occurring for you. But also as part of this scenario that's playing out, we're going to have the new moon being out of bounds on this day. And I believe Mercury is also out of bounds from recollection as well. So double the impact of unexpected surprise events. Because let's focus on the moon. It's probably the more important of the two in this case. When the moon is out of bounds, it's erratic. You can't predict which way it's going to go. It's quirky, it's very Uranian in its energy. And so it can bring extreme popularity for some people who are having a significant activation from this eclipse. And it can also bring heightened emotional states, extra sensitivity that occurs with this as well. So expect big changes and big momentum from this out of bounds moon being a part of this eclipse cycle. Now, the new moons in general, let's have a look at what they're all about. New moons, you've heard me say it a million times, but I'll say it again for any newcomers to the Patreon family. This is not a time to set intentions. On the 4th, I wouldn't set intentions on the 3rd or the 5th either. Those 3 days, the moon is in darkness. We cannot see the moon, and the moon is manifesting. We need the moon's light to manifest in our lives. So setting intentions on this day is not a good idea. We set our intentions once the moon becomes visible it will be the 6th. Or thereabouts in Australian time. So what we can do instead when the moon is invisible and in a conjunction, lost in the glare of the sun, is to go inward. We can go inward, ponder our dreams, ponder our goals, ponder our desires now. Think about what intentions we want to set. Sit with those ideas before we actually do a little ceremony or write them down or put them on our calendar or whatever. Sit with what it is you want to accomplish. So do set your intentions once the moon becomes visible. In this case, it's going to be, as I said, on the 6th. And that's when the moon will begin to wax in the sky and will start to grow to fruition. Good time to do that. We'll talk about doing that in ceremony in just a minute. But doing a liquid diet or a juice fast is a great thing to do for about 4 days around the time of the new moon. That's when our body will be releasing most of its toxins, unwanted waste products, unnecessary fluids. This is the ultimate time to flush out your system. Clear things out. So get that, filtered water happening. Maybe, like I said, some juice or some, get a juicer. Get the carrot juice happening, that kind of thing. It's a very good time to support your body. And also in supporting our body, we might like to look at perhaps avoiding too much alcohol now, maybe any alcohol now. Stick to pure foods and stick to pure liquids as well to assist your body in this flushing process and this detoxifying process. Now, when the moon is waxing, that means it's growing, it's increasing, it's heading towards its full capacity. So after the 4th, once the moon moves on out of the zone of the sun, roughly 2 days later, 1 to 2 days later, so on the 6th, the moon is going to start becoming visible again. And from then on until 2 weeks later, when we have the full moon occurring in Gemini, for the next 2 weeks until then, the moon is going to be growing. That's what a waxing moon is, increasing in size to its full capacity. So it's a terrific time to increase your weight if that's what you desire, because you're growing something, you're increasing something. Bodybuilders might want to do that, or, my young son would like more muscle mass. So it's a great time for him to focus on doing activities to support that, because what he instigates under the waxing moon will support his intent, which is to grow his body in that way. So if you do put on weight during this time, it can be very difficult to take it off because we tend to retain what we establish under a waxing moon for longer. So, you apply that principle to anything. What do you want to retain in your life? What do you want to maintain? What do you want to see grow in your life? Well, establish it under a waxing moon and you're going to see it stick with you. So weight is one example of how that can work. And of course, there are many, many other examples too of what you establish and wanting it to stick with you for the longer term. But it is a wonderful time for beginning an exercise program because you will stick with it. It will be with you for the long term. It's not just a fly-by-night flash in the pan, gym membership that you never use again. So according to a study in the Indian Journal of Basic and Applied Medical Research, when the moon is full, so not not at the eclipse, but 2 weeks later, once the moon has finished its waxing phase and hits the full moon phase, that's when our heart is actually functioning at its strongest, whenever we have a full moon. So that's another reason to hit the gym or get into a new form of exercise and activity during the waxing moon and build up that full moon power. build, you're heading towards the full moon, build up your heart strength. By the time it gets to the full moon, you're in a fabulous zone with it. Now, it's also under a waxing moon a really good time to do skin treatments like masks and peels, things that are designed to rejuvenate the skin. I know I'm going to get onto that. Could do with a bit of that myself. It's also a really good time for oil massages and herbal compresses and moisturizing baths because our skin is more absorbent. Hence, what we do to our skin is much more effective under the waxing moon than the waning moon. Now, that said, it's not a good time to tan the skin because we end up being more prone to sunburn and more prone to dryness under this influence. So, anything we do to the skin is exacerbated basically, and comes on stronger than ordinary. So if we're sunbaking, then it's going to have a more potent effect on us and can be damaging because we know sunbaking is not good for our skin. This is the best time also to dye your hair as well. Remember, what you instigate under this waxing moon will stick with you for a longer time. Hence, if you want to color your hair, great. It's perfect for coloring your hair. Your hair will absorb the dye better, the color will last longer, and it will be easier to achieve the color that you want. So also, and I'm going to take note of this, my hair's getting very long, it's probably time it had a trim, but taking care of damaged hair is best done under a waxing moon as well. Especially, I would also say, a waxing moon that is as close to full as possible, so keep that in mind for the next 2 weeks. Eyebrow treatments are more successful under this energy because if you want to thicken your brows, that will help. If you have a treatment that helps you thicken your brows or fill in patchy brows, it's very, very good. Not so much the plucking. If you're plucking your hairs or your eyebrow hair and that sort of thing, treatment for hair removal, probably not as effective under a waxing moon because the hair will probably still grow back thick and strong. Better to do it under a waning moon. Now, as far as gardening goes, planting all new plants except root vegetables is recommended during a waxing moon phase. Root vegetables actually prefer the waning moon. So this growth phase is good for everything except stuff that you put underground. So put your plants in, put your seedlings in, put your veggies in during the waxing moon phase because this growth phase will support the new plants and help them settle into the ground and help them start growing faster and stronger. Much better. Okay, let's look at how this eclipse is going to be playing out personally. Do you have planets around 12 degrees of Sagittarius? If you do, and that's really the potent degree, 12 degrees of Sagittarius, you could have sort of 2 degrees either side, so between 10 and 14 degrees I would give. That will be most affected. Now, you could also look at anything opposing, 12 degrees thereabouts of Gemini, or 12 degrees of Pisces, or Libra, or Virgo. Oh, I've just realized I am going to get a significant activation out of this eclipse. I didn't think I was. There we go. So those points will be activated now, and this new moon energy sees the fruition, not so much the fruition, sees more momentum given to something that was established maybe 2 weeks ago, 6 months ago, 1 year ago, and because it's an eclipse 18 years ago. What was established 18 years ago? So it's worth considering, where was I at 18 years ago when the last eclipse in this Saros series was occurring, and what did that bring into my life? What fruiting did that bring into my life? What did I experience? So I'm just thinking, I think I got pregnant. Yes. Golly, I don't think that's going to happen again. Very, very interesting and life transformative events usually result from an eclipse. Anyhow, for this eclipse energy, you're going to need to have a planet or an important point within that 2-degree orb of 12 degrees of Sagittarius, mostly Sagittarius or Gemini, and to a lesser degree Pisces, Virgo. This orb must be very tight, like I said, for the true effect to be felt. So if you have the sun here, it might bring new goals for you in career. And it's also your birthday. So if you're got this sun at the 12 degree Sagittarius mark, so happy birthday, happy solar return. This is going to be significant in your life if you've got it at the 12 degree of Sagittarius mark, because when we have an eclipse on our solar return, it's going to be an apocryphal year, a life-changing year that like no other. Very powerful year to direct you to your purpose and to your ability to truly shine in the world. Wonderful energy. So if you have the moon here, there you can expect new emotions to come to the surface, or a reset of what you need for fulfillment. You establish some, you review while the moon is dark, and you realize, what I thought I needed to be fulfilled in life, I don't actually need, and this is what I really need to feel satisfied and fulfilled. We can have a new reset with our emotions and needs for fulfillment. Mercury at one of these points indicates the development of new skills or news that comes your way, communications that is life-changing under an eclipse. Venus at these points might indicate a new love that comes into your life. Also new financial opportunities, or a new set of values that becomes a part of your life experience. So Venus could be a lot of fun for some people. Mars at these significant points might indicate a new vigor, new passion, new energization. Maybe you've been feeling lackluster, can't be bothered, not interested, life is so ho-hum, stuck in lockdown for 2 years, and then along comes an eclipse on your Mars, and suddenly you're getting up and going and making things happen and entrepreneurial and getting out there and changing the world and da-da-da. New vigor. Wonderful. Jupiter at the 12-degree mark might indicate new beliefs, new understandings, even a capacity for new joy. Jupiter is joy. So for people with Jupiter here, you might find that all of a sudden life is more magical, more sparkly. You're seeing the world through rose-colored glasses in a good way, because of what occurs at this eclipse. Saturn at this 12-degree point or thereabouts might bring new structures into your life, new organization. You might be reviewing limitations. You might even smash a few limitations, changing the dynamic of limitations. Because remember, this is a new energy, new moon, new energy, so new start. So Saturn is limitations, new start with limitations, new maturity that can come into your life because of this, whatever happens around the eclipse in your life. Uranus might indicate something exciting and something unexpected, something that happens out of the blue, like a lightning bolt across the sky. You didn't see it coming, and there all of a sudden it was, and that sounds like fun to me. I rather like a bit of change, and I rather like a bit of dynamism in my life. So if you've got Uranus here, get ready. Something surprising is about to happen for you. Neptune at this point might indicate new creativity in your life, a new chance for glamour, or even new spiritual experiences that might be on the horizon, new depth of spirit, new understanding of spirit, or a new peacefulness and tranquility that enters into your life because of what occurs at this eclipse. Pluto at this point might indicate a fresh start, turning over a new leaf with new personal power. Pluto has power, and so having an eclipse on our Pluto tends to be more generational, but can also refer to establishing a new sense of power in our life. Now, as an illustration, many people in Australia and around the world have lost their sense of autonomous personal power. And so something might occur if you've got Pluto here and having the eclipse on your Pluto. Something might occur where your generation is able to take its power back and to regenerate what is powerful. You might go and join a commune where you're all growing veggies and living off grid and all that cool stuff, and you've taken your power back as a collective, as a movement, as a people, generational group. One example. Also, Pluto is transformation, so it's likely that this eclipse and its energy and what it brings is going to really transform and change your life. Now, you might also like to look for personal points like the ascendant or the descendant. If you're having this on your ascendant, people with an ascendant at 12 degrees of Sagittarius, then you have a great capacity to have your life empowered through this eclipse, and to rise up in a sense of empowerment in the world if you're having this on the ascendant as well. If you're having it on the MCIC, it could mean a big career or home change in some way. That could be very exciting. If you're having it on the descendant degree, then it could indicate a big shift or new beginning with a relationship. So it might mean a new relationship comes in, and it could also mean that you reinvigorate an old relationship. I'd also check Anticia points. We've talked about Anticia here on the Patreon family, so check out that video to determine if you've got an Anticia point at 12 degrees of Sagittarius or a contra Anticia point. Midpoints as well, Brigabindu points can also get activated and see something happen. So check out those points in your chart and see if you're going to be getting some activation. Now, I will point out that this eclipse is an eclipse with the south node of the moon. Here is the south node, and this eclipse is within orb of the south node, as all eclipses are within orb of the nodes. And so what this means is there's going to be a new beginning, new moon, new beginning, but there's also going to be a letting go. There's also something that has to dissolve and disappear and take a back seat now in order for the new to come in. So this started with the eclipse 2 weeks ago, where we had the culmination, full moon ending energy of the lunar eclipse with the bring me something new energy of the north node. So you've got the two poles happening at once. Something has to begin, something has to end in order for something to begin. Again, we've got this going on here with the new moon energy, bringing something new in, and the letting go of something with the south node. So same scenario. To start something new, something has to be excreted out of your life, to put it bluntly. So what is a new moon in Sagittarius all about? Now, this is not the eclipse. This is just the energy of a new moon in Sagittarius, as we have annually each year. And it means that we can get lucky. This is a lucky sign. Correlates to the 9th house of the horoscope, which is the luckiest house in the horoscope. It's a beautiful sign, most glorious sign, because it is connected with luck. And I would just encourage you to watch my YouTube channel in the coming weeks. I'm going to be having a fabulous discussion with David Warner Matheson about a number of things, but one of the things that we will talk about is why Sagittarius is a very unique sign. And I won't say any more than that, but it'll be worth tuning into that video when it goes up. We can also, under a new moon in Sagittarius, turn over a new leaf after a time of feeling depleted. You know, like the life has gone out of us, so we've been de-energized, and suddenly new moon in Sagittarius, kaboom, we're back on track again. We're rocket launching into our destiny. Now, some people will change their minds, their beliefs, their opinions now, and that's okay. In fact, it's probably going to be a good thing under this particular Sagittarius new moon. We need a lot of mental shifts occurring in people so that we can get the vibrational change needed to overturn the tyranny. So I'm actually looking forward to that component of the new moon eclipse playing out. The world is wanting to gift you something now. So be open-hearted and invite the blessing in. Because this is a very auspicious, blessed, and lucky placement. And if our hearts are open, if our heart chakra is waiting with joy for the gifts of the universe to enter in, then it's an ease. It's an ease that comes with this particular eclipse where the blessing flows because we're ready to receive. So, speaking of receiving, you might also receive some big ideas, some big new concepts that you can put into your life or to your purpose or to your mission. So listen to spirit now. Might be a good idea to write down in a journal, take notes about what is being presented in your thoughts, in your heart, and your spirit under this energy. I would encourage you as much as you can under the new moon eclipse in Sagittarius to maintain your optimism and cast aside any narrow-mindedness that you have about people, about the world, about what could happen, what could or could not happen. Keep buoyant, because this is a very light, buoyant, optimistic energy. And if ever there was a time that the world needed us to be in that vibrational state, it's now. So let's do ceremony for new moon in Sagittarius. So the point of ceremony is to create a right energy space for new moon in Sagittarius energies and intentions to manifest in your life. Sagittarius is a fire sign, so using fire in your ceremony is important, and you might like to light purple or orange candles under this energy because these are the colors of Jupiter, and Jupiter rules the sign of Sagittarius. Now I'm playing Gustav Holst's Jupiter Suite here, or a portion of it that I particularly love. And this is a glorious classical piece of music that creates a feeling of expansion that causes your heart to swell And this is very much the energy of Sagittarius. We want to expand ourselves, our mind, our heart. Other similarly expansive energy, music or nature sounds or whatever that lift you to a state of majesty, I would encourage you to play for this particular ceremony. So once you've got your candles lit, maybe they're in a circle around you, listen to the music. Take the time, if you can find a playlist that plays this uplifting, majestic music, that would be great. Then you have all the time in the world. Visualize your Sagittarian intentions manifesting in your life. You may have pre-prepared those intentions. Remember, you can use this ceremony at the time that the moon becomes visible. With your intentions, focus on them and see them in your mind's eye becoming true and real and alive in your life. Sagittarius is also an energy of movement. So some of you might like to stand as you do this. That will feel very expansive to do so. You may like to move or sway or even dance to the music as you visualize your intentions manifesting. So it's very powerful with a new moon in Sagittarius to combine the energy of movement with an energetically positive state of being. So focus now on what you are grateful for in your life. Be big-hearted in your thankfulness. Be expansive in your thankfulness. Enjoy the feeling now, the emotion of success, the feeling of warmth, the feeling of achievement, the feeling of growth that flows through you as you visualize your intentions coming to be. Stay in that feeling for as long as you desire to stay in it, and it's a beautiful feeling. See the universe holding space for you and having your back. Give thanks to the universe for the spirit of Sagittarius manifesting in your life today as you do this ceremony and over the weeks to come, the months to come, and even the years to come until we have another eclipse in this Saros cycle. So thank you for joining me for that very grand little ceremony there for developing energy space to support the expansion and growth and visualization of our dreams under Sagittarius new moon eclipse energy. So let's have a look at what a solar eclipse is. Basically, it's a new moon on steroids. It's like new moon energy times 3 or 4, extra powerful new moon themes. So usually a solar eclipse will trigger events within a week either side of the eclipse and up to 6 months afterwards. So don't just think, it's going to happen on this day. No, it could actually occur anytime in the following 6-month period, which is good news. If we're looking for a change and it doesn't come on the day, we've got time. Time is on our side, as the great Rolling Stones and, who was the other singer? Now I'm going to be scratching my head about that one, the person who sang it originally. It wasn't Barbara Lynn, it was someone else. Anyway, I'll think of that. But yes, as they say, time is on our side. My teacher says that we need to consider an eclipse is active once the sun, a solar eclipse this is, once the sun moves within 19 degrees of the nodes, either side of the node. So in this case, we have an eclipse season that is active from the moment the sun hits 19 degrees prior to 1 degree of Sagittarius in this case. And that occurred when the sun was at 11 degrees of Scorpio on the 4th of November in Australian time, so a month ago. So the eclipse has been active and bringing its energy then. So has anything unusual been unfolding in your life for the last month? Something has really taken on a deeper energy, a more profound feeling, a stronger influence in your life. You just feel that presence, of whatever that energy of change represents, just moving through you very strongly. I'll be honest, because you're my Patreon family, I love you dearly. My father was taken ill to hospital with a cardiac event that occurred the week before the lunar eclipse. But it still also falls within this zone. And of course, this is an eclipsing of the sun, the solar energy. The father is connected to the sun. It is falling on a very significant point in my chart, in the house of the father. So yeah, I'm bracing myself for whatever the universe may deem fit to outlay with that. And there are other things that have been occurring in my life that are very significant as well over the last month. But that's an example. What has been moving in your life over the last month that's different, that's new, that seems to be spelling out all the beacon lights or the neon signs for change and movement in a different direction? So interestingly, just before an eclipse occurs, there's always a drop in the Earth's electromagnetic radiation and its emissions. So that can have an energetic effect on our bodies, whether we realize it or not. We might not notice it at the time, but it is a thing that science has recorded. So in mundane astrology also, solar eclipses, which are rarer to see than lunar eclipses are usually visible from up to 50% of the area of the Earth, but solar eclipses are very rare. This particular one is not going to be seen by the majority of the world unless you live in Antarctica and the very lower levels of Australia and New Zealand. I live in southern Australia. I don't expect to see this one because it's just going to be way out of reach of even me in southern Australia. Often the countries involved in an eclipse path will receive significant manifestation from the eclipse. So let's hope it brings some much needed change to Australia and New Zealand and their tyrannical states at this time. Now, as I said, so this is going to potentially, in mundane astrology, affect the leadership, not the masses, because the solar eclipses connect to the solar leaders. So in ancient times, they would change who was sitting on the throne because they didn't want the actual king to die from a solar eclipse. So they'd whack some poor old soul on the throne, and they're going to be the one who's going to cop it at the time of an eclipse. That's what they believed. Who knows? I think Scott Morrison and Jacinta Ardern might need to sort of get their act together a bit because goodness knows what could happen with the leadership. And wouldn't we all like to see Dan Andrews and a few others be affected by this eclipse and lose their leadership positions? Sorry, I shouldn't talk politics. I shouldn't put out there my stance, and I certainly don't align. I should clarify. I do not align with any political party. I'm very anti-politics, to be quite honest. In case you haven't realised that about me, but yes, there is certain levels of tyranny and political overreach that are occurring in Australia right now, and the eclipse could be just what we all need. So any change that comes with a solar eclipse in our personal lives will usually come from changes that happen externally. With a lunar eclipse, change starts in here. With a solar eclipse, change is out there, and it impacts us and our lives. So from the outside in, external impacts that you're going to need to change and adjust to come with a solar eclipse. Now, some astrological texts indicate that a new moon eclipse is felt stronger by those with a day chart, somebody who was born during the daytime when the sun was above the horizon, because the sun is the more significant indicator in a solar eclipse than the moon. And it's vice versa for a lunar eclipse. So are you a day birth? Then this could be felt more powerfully by you. But eclipses mark a major turning point in life. The universe is intent on moving you forward now, and there'll be no going back from whatever occurs as a result of this eclipse. The energy is about realigning with your purpose now and your intent for incarnation, and anything that is superfluous to why you are here and your purpose that the soul incarnated for is going to be let go of. Any relationship, any job, any, residency, any, where you live, anything that is not helping you move where your soul wants to go, see you later. It's out of here. So be prepared. Whatever happens now is going to happen for your highest good, whether you realize it or not. And remember to always act with kindness. Remember to always forgive, because you might be the one that somebody else is letting go of. And just know that that's okay. You know, we don't own anyone, neither do we owe anyone anything other than kindness. And this includes kindness to ourselves. But if somebody feels that it's the time to move on, then that's what the eclipse is bringing them, and they are unlikely to go back from that decision. Remember, Mercury is part of this eclipse. Decision making will be a big part of it. So flow with whatever happens and practice acceptance where needed. So allow what needs to take place to take place. Don't fight it. Go with the flow. This is an important turning point in your life. So a complete change of pace is at hand. There might be some news of big life events that will affect you. Solar eclipses tend to create new beginnings, as we've already established, and bright new opportunities. So often there will be, some sort of random event that you didn't expect, and it's an exciting time of change. Pay attention, as I've said, to all the events that have happened in the last month that are going to be sort of beacon lights for what this eclipse might bring. But also any news in the news, any gossip, any interactions that occur during the eclipse season, because they're going to be important for the future going forward. So as this eclipse falls, as I've said, with the south node of the moon, there might be a letting go of something in your life to make way for the new that's beginning. That's okay. It's part of the eclipse, as we've established. And if this eclipse is falling on your sun placement, as I've said, it's your birthday, and it's going to be a key year in the course of your life. This happened for me in 2018. I was forced by the universe to make astrology my full-time career. And it was a scary, scary thing to do. Still at times it's scary to be running my own business when I'm raising 3 children and trying to survive in the world. You know, it's a scary, scary thing. But I knew beyond any shadow of a doubt this is what the universe wanted, and I better get in line with it, you know. It was no longer at that point in 2018 going to be a secondary job for me, an evening job. It was going to be my full-time thing. So that was a powerful shake-up for me, and I really learned a lot about eclipses through that experience. So it might come with a bit of pulling the rug out from underneath you, but it's designed for benefit, for good, for expansion, for growth, and movement into your mission and your purpose. Now, if you're a Leo rising person, or a Leo sun, or a Leo moon person, you may be more affected by this eclipse as well, because the sun, who is being eclipsed in this situation, is the ruler of your sign. With a lunar eclipse, Cancer people are more heavily affected. So sun people, or rising or moon, who are governed by the sun, this could be, very powerfully felt in your life. Eclipses also that are occurring in the same element as one of your birth signs, your sun, moon, or rising sign, can generally be friendly to you as well. But it needs to be in the same element: water, earth, air, fire. So, in this case, if you've got anything in fire signs, it's going to be very important, because as you can see, they're all going to be being trined by the eclipse, all the fire elements. So if you've got any fire in your chart significantly, this can be a very powerful eclipse in your life also. Now, what I've been itching to talk about is the Saros cycle for this eclipse. This Saros cycle began on the 14th of July, 1787, and it's actually going to finish on the 12th of August, 3031. So this series of eclipses that's part of this particular Saros cycle, it's a cycle that repeats every 18 years and part of the family of eclipses that started way back in 1787. It carries the energy of that initial eclipse series birth chart. And particularly that birth chart on the 14th of July 1787 pertained to the energy of that moment, pertained to joy and happiness, good news, falling in love, and peak life experiences. The benefits that come to us, and I've just described how they may manifest according to the Saros cycle, the benefits that come to us under this eclipse energy will be long-lasting. So if you fall in love under this eclipse, and eclipses do bring falling in love, then it's going to be a long-lived love affair and relationship. Yay! Let's hope it happens to all of us who are looking for love out there. Thanks, universe. But any peak life experience, any good news that this eclipse brings, it's going to last, it's going to endure. So I love the description of this Saros cycle of eclipses. It gives me so much hope because we really need this in the world right now. So it's a wonderful eclipse series. Don't be afraid of it. Work with it. Be in your gratitude energy, as we did in the ceremony. Be in your expansive Sagittarius energy and welcome what begins now, because it's going to be for your highest good. So let's look at the eclipse through all signs. This is the new moon eclipse in Sagittarius. This is where we can expect sudden changes and new beginnings. We can expect an important turning point to arrive in our life and positive benefits that will be long-lasting. Let's start with our Sagittarius rising sun or moon people. Well, this is where we're going to experience maybe some relationships starting in some new way, because it's falling on your relationship axis, especially if it's in a conjunction with your ascendant Sagittarius. So there might be some relationship beginning or a reinvigoration of a relationship. You'll probably have a strong intuition about your appearance now and how to utilize your presence, your persona, your appearance to your best advantage in the world. There'll be a strong intuition about ways that you can protect, survive, and thrive in the world, protect yourself, protect your loved ones. There might be sudden changes that might lead to some sort of entrepreneurial endeavors to start. This is an entrepreneurial house. It's an initiatory house about starting something new. So some change that occurs in your life and you decide you're going to take a risk and, do some entrepreneurial thing or make a fresh start in some life. It's a very healing placement to have the eclipse occurring in your first house, and there's a great potential for an increase in popularity here and a rise in recognition and social status in some regard. Could be with a career, could be for some other reason, but it looks good. All right, moving on now. We're going to move to our Scorpio friends. Scorpio rising, sun or moon, the eclipse energy is falling for you in your second house. Now, this could indicate that there will be a big change in your value system, something, how you appreciate something, what you put your pin, not your hopes on, but I was going to say belief, but it's not even belief. What you look to as important in life could really alter now. It might change from material things to spiritual things, to connection, to family. Like what you value is going to go through some sort of shift. You could also be starting something in life that's going to enable you to be more self-sufficient. This is a very self-sufficient house, and don't we all want to get into that state of being as much as possible? So there will be a new start happening in life that can perhaps create more independence in your own life. And there's also potentially a turning point with a financial situation in life, Scorpio. This might bring in new financial opportunities that you never saw before. So keep your eyes peeled now. Keep your eyes open for opportunities that present themselves either in the previous month that's been or going forward for the next 6 months, because there could be something very beneficial coming your way financially. Trust your intuition also regarding what feels safe and secure to you now as well. If you're looking at a financial opportunity and it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel safe, then don't go for it. To listen to your gut under this highly intuitive energy of the eclipse. So that's what I would see for Scorpio rising sun or moon. Now for Libra rising sun or moon people, the energy of the eclipse is falling in your third house. So this means there might be big changes in your viewpoint or your mental perspective. The way you think might change because of this eclipse. Now, you can also get big intuitive hunches and psychic downloads. I would encourage you to trust them under this beneficial eclipse. They can be relied upon. So listen to your gut, whatever you get goosebumps about, whatever you get a bit of an instinct on, trust it. Now, a brother or a neighbor or a sibling might change their relationship dynamic with you now under this energy, and there might be a change in the connection that you have with such people in your life. For better or worse, I would say because of the nature of this eclipse, it's going to be for better. So something to look forward to there. Positive interaction with those people. Possibly good news arriving in your life as well. It's the house of the news. So some good news that has you celebrating and dancing in the street might happen, Libra. Let's hope that's the case. There could also be a turning point that arrives now in a small business. If you have a small business, Libra, or you've got a small business idea, there might be a turning point there. There could be a turning point with a skill or a talent that you have as well, and maybe you start to utilize that skill or talent in a different way in your life. Now, in ancient astrology, this was the natural house of the moon, and it was an indicator of, priestesses who were messengers of the gods if the moon was in the third house. So for Libran people to have an eclipse caused by the moon in the third house, you might have, Librans, a message from the gods for humanity or for a single person in your life. You might speak words that transform them, that change them. Equally, you might receive news from the gods as well, a message from the gods that changes you and your life for good. So that sounds like fun. All right, Libra to Virgo rising, sun and moon people. The energy of the eclipse is falling in the fourth house for Virgo people. So there could be sudden changes in the family or with the maternal line. Some relationship with the mother might go through a change, or it could be the father too. This is the parental axis. Very psychic placement and emotionally intuitive and sensitive placement. So trust your intuition with this eclipse, especially any intuition about family, any intuition about parents, any intuition about place of living, domestic life, homes and real estate. Your hunches will not lead you astray. There could be a turning point with a dynamic with a maternal figure. Maybe mum goes into an old age care home, or mum decides she's going to move from Seattle to New Orleans, and there's a big gap between you. There's a big change, so she could change residence. It's not necessarily a falling out with a mother figure, but a shift in how you're going to relate somehow. So change, essentially. So a new beginning is also possible with garden or with home, with domestic situations. So some people, because of this eclipse, especially if it's falling on your IC, might change homes, might move, might sell a house, might buy some property. So that's an exciting thing if that's something that you've been longing to do or looking to do in some way. There could be significant changes, as I said, with the garden. You might decide you're going to plow up the whole backyard and put a heap of veggies in, if that's your thing. You might completely decide you're going to renovate or gut your house. They're positive changes that you might like to bring about. And we know that this is generally a positive, good eclipse according to the Saros cycle. So let's look at it through that lens. The other lens that's not so positive, which we would rather not look at through, is that this eclipse could bring like a problem with the house. Suddenly we discover we've got, touch wood, doesn't happen, but white ants or termites, they're called in some parts of the world, or plumbing issue or something like that. Of course, really you'd have to see if there's, for a plumbing issue, maybe there's Pluto on your IC, or a water issue, Neptune, or termites, Saturn involved. You'd have to look and see what else is playing in your natal chart. But that is the shadow side that I don't think is going to manifest with this eclipse. But suffice to say, eclipses are wild cards, and you can hope for the best based on the Saros cycle, but you really can't predict with 100% accuracy. So best to just be prepared. Okay, Virgo, don't mean to end on a negative note there. I think it's going to work out really good for everybody. Now, moving along to our Leo rising sun or moon people. The eclipse is falling most benevolently for Leo people in the 5th house. Oh, we've got to love a 5th house eclipse when you're a Leo person. So there could be a change in some sort of dynamic with a current boyfriend or girlfriend or a live-in lover. Some people can separate under an eclipse in the 5th house from their lover, not from their marriage partner. This is lovers. This is affairs. This is not the ring on the finger kind of situation. But so there can be some sort of a shift in dynamic with a lover. But if there is a separation that occurs, it's probably because somebody new has come in and on the scene. Okay, remember this is an eclipse where something is going to be excreted, south node, gotten rid of, because something new is about to start. Okay, So if the relationship was not part of your destiny and not part of your purpose, then it might disappear. If it is part of your destiny or your purpose, you might get a reinvigoration of that love affair, that relationship, that girlfriend-boyfriend dynamic. Unexpected opportunities might come into your life to show your natural creativity. Maybe an art show or a theatre production or a film role that comes your way and changes your life. So 5th house creativity could really bring positive blessing with your creative work. Some people could also get lucky. This is, it's not a house of windfalls, but it is a house of luck. So you could get lucky and win some sort of prize. Maybe you win the prize in the art show, or you win that leading role in, the next Marvel movie or something, and you get lucky. So that could be a thing. Now, this is also a very masculine energy, the solar eclipses, and so there may be a man in your life who could pave the way for a rise in celebrity. For you now, you might meet, be a person, be at the right place at the right time, and they give you that opportunity to push forward, to make something, more exciting happen in your life that takes you to a place of celebrity. And also, just to conclude for Leo, romantic gestures might surprise you during this eclipse period. People might wear their heart on their sleeve a bit more. And I think I described this in the last eclipse video. We used to have this ad for Impulse deodorant where a guy would rush up and give a girl flowers out of the blue on the street, which never happens in real life, obviously. But hey, who knows? Under this eclipse, it may just do so. Lucky Leos are likely to be the recipients of this, and we know they're going to appreciate that very much because Leo is a romantic sign that loves big, lavish expressions of love in its life. And just on that, if you're dating a Leo and you're not showing them big, lavish expressions of love, it doesn't have to be expensive, but just big, flamboyant love expressions, then you better get your act together because Leos love that sort of stuff. All right, moving along. Cancer people, Cancer rising, Cancer sun, Cancer moon. This eclipse is falling in your 6th house, guys. Okay, so this is not quite so happy, happy, joy, joy like the Leo energy is. This is a highly sensitized area and sensitive to the pain of other people. This eclipse is going to bring that sensitivity to the surface, and we know Cancer rising people, sun people, moon people are very sensitive people anyway. So you're going to feel a lot of sensitivity to what you see happening to the downtrodden in the world because of this eclipse. So there might be some confrontational situations that arise now. And this will be a result of frustrations that you're feeling at an emotional level. You might need to protect your energy of vibration now, so have a plan to do so. Some, meditation or creativity or creative writing or whatever gets you into a higher vibrational state, Cancer, that works for you. That's going to help because otherwise you might wobble under this eclipse energy. Now, because it is a positive Saros cycle, there will be some sort of blessing that comes through this eclipse. Some people might win over a health issue now. Maybe might win in a court issue or against a difficult person that they've been battling with. So that can be really positive. There could be a turning point with all of these yucky things that we experience in life, health issues, going to court. And this is the energy, this eclipse cycle is one of a turning point, of a change, of a shift and a new beginning. So expect to see positive results that shift in that regard. There could also be a change in circumstances or a new beginning with some sort of pet or animal. Some people might, get a stray cat coming into the yard who just doesn't leave, and you decide, stuff it, they'll be my pet cat from now on. Or you might decide, get the impulse to go to the pound or the RSPCA and adopt a dog. There will be a new beginning with some kind of pet potentially for people too who are having this. Thank you, Cancer rising, sun or moon people. Gemini rising, sun or moon people. We are seeing the energy of this eclipse falling for you in the 7th house. So for Gemini people, relationships that have been working well can see a shift in dynamic that will take you more into the positive, deeper, more evolved state with that relationship, which is truly lovely. But relationships that have been strained might break apart under this eclipse influence, even though the Saros cycle is good. I feel that it's really going to bring more love into existing relationships. But if the relationship hasn't been much chop, if it's been on the skids, then an eclipse is likely to break it apart because it wants us in our truth. It wants us to move fully into our purpose and our destiny. And if a relationship has felt like it's all over Red Rover, then it will tend to break apart as a part of your purpose and destiny. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Now, I mean, if that does happen and you find yourself walking on eggshells with your partner, you've got to question if this relationship is really meant for you. So this is a real turning point opportunity, if that's the kind of situation that you're in. It can indicate suddenly falling in love with someone new when we have an eclipse on the relationship axis, particularly in the 7th house. So that could be very exciting. And there could be some successful outcomes also from court cases now, or any dealings with lawyers, negotiations, and interactions with business people can go very, very well if you're experiencing this as a Gemini rising person. So get those contracts signed. Actually, I wouldn't go signing contracts under an eclipse energy, just to expand on that point, because even though the Saros cycle is good, eclipses are so erratic that I would never do anything so committal, such as get married, sign a contract. I would never have an operation under an eclipse energy. Anything really significant in life that could affect you, never do it under any eclipse, no matter how good the Saros cycle looks. They're just too wild, these eclipse energies. Okay, moving from Gemini to Taurus, rising, sun, moon people. This energy of the eclipse is falling for you in the 8th house. And what that means for you is that you are going to be receive the opportunity of getting really amazing intuitive downloads coming into your life now. Those goosebump moments, premonitions, prophetic influences, inner knowing, the prickling of your thumbs, as Agatha Christie used to say. So this could be very exciting indeed. Trust those intuitions, trust those psychic downloads. They will not lead you astray. Now, men, because this solar eclipses have to do with men, because the sun is involved, obviously, very strongly, men might be a source of healing for you now. This is a healing house. So maybe a man who practices Reiki or psychic surgery might do something special in your life that changes things and heals you. So that can be a good thing. If you know any male healers, chiropractors, or tarot readers or whatever, I would seek them out under this energy if I was you, Taurus, because I think they will have profound insights and blessing for you. So it's a big season of change and rebirth and regeneration for you, Taurus. We know that because you had the eclipse, the lunar eclipse in your sign previously. Now you've got the solar eclipse in the 8th house. And this is an indication that your life is about to change in quite a remarkable way. There's a turning point with your way of being, and there'll be no going back to who you were before because of this eclipse energy, Taurus. So it can be a very emotionally up and down type of eclipse. You will have been in this state probably for the duration of the eclipse season, a bit, and very un-Taurus-like to be so roller coaster, but that's just the effect of the eclipse in your 8th house, and you're really going to need to ride it out as best you can. So Taurus, you're very good at keeping stable and having some things up your sleeve to stabilize you when you're feeling emotionally on the roller coaster is a really, really good idea. And this effect is only going to last probably for another month, and then you'll settle into more normality. It's not going to last the whole 6 months. That erraticism is not going to last the whole 6 months until the next set of eclipses. But likely that roller coaster ride might be there for another month until the sun moves beyond the 19-degree mark from the nodes. I hope that makes sense. I did describe that in the intro if you're wanting to know more about that. Okay, moving along to Taurus. Taurus rising, sun, moon, and just that's all. Sun, moon, and rising people. Okay. The energy of the eclipse is falling in the blessed 9th house. So this is really nice because this is the luckiest house in the horoscope, and it could indicate a turning point with a belief system that you have carried for a very long time. It's an indicator, Aries, that it's time to broaden your horizons, to change where you've had your ethics and morals placed. So it could be very liberating and freeing in that sense as you redefine who you are ethically and morally. Very good. It's also a time, Aries, for a new beginning, potentially with another culture. So that might see you start a relationship with somebody in another culture, or it could indicate that you start a business partnership with somebody from another culture, or you might start importing something from another country. So something to do with foreign affairs and negotiations and deals could really unfold now in your life. And it can also indicate, because this is the house of inspirational figures, even father figures in the Vedic system can be seen through the 9th house. So it can indicate a change in that regard also, you know, a change in relationship dynamic with an inspirational figure, or a mentor of some sort, or a guru in your life. So you might see them in a new light. Some news might come to hand about them that changes your perspective on that person, and changes the dynamic of your relationship with that person. So your intuition under this eclipse is going to be heightened as well. Trust your hunches. Trust your hunches and your gut instinct, because it's not like the 8th house where the veils between the worlds are thin. It's much more like the spirit and the divine and the Godhead, if you want to use those words, are able to reach you in ways that they might not otherwise be able to do. So listen to your instinct, listen to your gut, listen to your higher self. Now, for you guys, you might suddenly fall in love, because remember the Saros cycle, it has this theme of falling in love. You might suddenly, if you are looking to fall in love, you might fall in love with someone from a different culture due to the Saros cycle. And particularly if you're an Aries person and you are looking for your second committed life partner to arrive in your life, so you've been married once and then divorced and you're waiting for number 2 to come into your life, this could trigger it, because the second life partner is seen from the 9th house. So in that sense, it looks exciting for you. This is an eclipse to do with falling in love, falling in the second life partner house. If that's what you're looking for, then you could be getting very lucky, Aries. You of course need other triggers occurring in your natal chart. I can do a reading on that. If you would like to make the most of the discount that's currently being offered, then do so. And we can see if there's something coming into your life. But this is one of the gifts in that regard that you can put a big tick beside. All right, Pisces rising sun and moon people. The energy of the eclipse for we Pisces is falling in the 10th house. This is an angular house, and of course eclipses in angular houses are very, very powerful. This is a parental axis, and I spoke in the intro about how my father had a very scary incident with his heart a couple of days before the lunar eclipse, but it was actually, I consider it that it's playing into this effect, because it's falling within that month prior to the solar eclipse that's occurring. And this is the house of the father traditionally, and the sun represents father figures, solar figures. So yeah, that was what happened for me, which of course is not a good thing. You know, nobody wants their father to go to hospital with a cardiac issue. And just so you know, my dad's had cardiac issues since he was very young when he got rheumatic fever. So this has been an ongoing thing. But he's never been to hospital all of a sudden unexpectedly with it before. So it was concerning. But enough of my diatribe there. There could be changes in the father figure, in your relationship with the father figure. Potentially there might be a turning point associated with your mother-in-law as well, because this is the house to do with the mother-in-law. So something is going to shift, something could change with those people in your life, for better or worse. And remember what I described in the intro. If this happens, it's because it's time to let go. And maybe it's time, and I'm talking to myself as much as anyone here, if something happens with my father, then maybe it is just time for the universe to say, okay, come on home. You've done what you needed to do. Your karma is complete in this lifetime, you know. And if that is what happens, touch wood it won't, but if that is what happens, then my family and I are going to have to learn to sort of let that be, let that flow. But let's not borrow trouble. Yes, let's move on. There's potentially a significant man or an authority figure, Pisces, that may catapult you into greater worldly success and recognition because of this eclipse here too. So keep your eye on that over the next 6 months. Are you collaborating with anyone? Have you got a business partnership with a man going on that could change your life in some manner? It could look really, really good. It could generate a new position of leadership for you, but it might also indicate that something needs to end in order for this to happen. Remember, this is with the South Node. There's an ending involved so that a new beginning can take place. There could be a turning point with one way of doing career or obtaining success as well. You could discover the career of your dreams. Suddenly you get a revelation. Suddenly you find that what you're doing is not fulfilling you, and you change and you move direction, or you alter how you're doing it a little bit so that it now feels more aligned with your purpose and your mission. So that can help too, Pisces. And wouldn't that be just lovely to move into that energy? There can be a heightened sensitivity to your public image and to your reputation now. And I do have to say, watch out for gossip or difficult news about your reputation. As we've already established, this is a good eclipse according to the Saros cycle, but it still can act like a wild card, like with my father. So do watch out for the gossip and the slander and that kind of thing, because that can be the shadow side of an eclipse like this in the house of public reputation and image. Okay, Aquarius rising, sun or moon people. Well, the energy of this eclipse for you guys is falling in your 11th house, one of the lucky houses of the horoscope. Or I shouldn't say lucky, it's not known as that. It is actually, the 11th house is one of those wealth houses. So it's connected to wealth yogas when we have planets of a certain governance in the 11th house. But okay, it's a house of friendship, so there's likely to be some sort of changing dynamic with a friend. A friend might be leaving your life now, but don't fret. Remember, this is creating energetic space for new friends to come into your life. So it could be a turning point with regard to a friendship or a friendship group or some social setting that you've been in. It could also be a turning point with regard to some of the goals that you have for your life also. You might be throwing them out the window now and creating a whole new set of ambitions that are based on what is inspiring you in this moment. And in doing that, you know that you're on the money. If this is happening under the eclipse, intuitive downloads can come to you because of this eclipse that guide you into your new purpose and new direction. So pay attention to those things if they come up. It could also indicate a change or a turning point in some way with an older sibling, particularly the immediate older sibling to you. If you have an older sibling, the dynamic that you have with them might alter under this eclipse also. And I feel you will encounter the right people at the right time, and probably masculine people who are men. They will help you with your goals and dreams now, Aquarius. They'll help you generate more gainfulness in your life. So pay attention to what masculine energies are in your field, who you're connecting with, who you're relating with, who you're collaborating with. They could be very, very important going forward. You might meet a man now who changes your gainfulness in some way, or you may already know this person, but it's this interaction during this eclipse season that's going to prove potentially to be very financially fruitful. All right, and finally, thank you for waiting, Capricorn rising, sun and moon people. We are seeing the energy of this eclipse falling in the 12th house for you. So hang on to your hat, Capricorn, because this is an interesting placement to have the energy of an eclipse in the 12th house. There can be psychic downloads that could blow your mind right now. Highly prophetic. Don't discount anything that comes through, and expect that the universe is going to guide you through dreams, through visions, and that includes daydreams as much as anything. Pay attention to what you're daydreaming about. Where does your mind wander to under this energy? It will not be without purpose. So, note down what you're daydreaming about. Have a dream book by your bed. Write down what you're dreaming about. It is also potentially, because this is connected to past lives, a turning point for something from your past that's been coming through. Maybe an old habit, a belief, a behavior, maybe even some childhood trauma or psychological wound that you've carried. It's a very powerful time for starting afresh, consciously or unconsciously. The universe is going to do some big work in you because of this at a subconscious level. So you might need to isolate to cope with these heightened energies. So that might mean take time out to rest, to sleep, to escape in healthy ways, curl up with a book on the couch all afternoon. Do what you need to do to just be in your energy field and support yourself energetically now, and rest. House of rest after all. And of course, this big shift that might be coming for you, you'll need rest to cope with it. So for some, this is also an energy of miraculous healing that can come your way. The divine touches your life in some way and you're never the same. and you're transformed. So what do you visualize divine healing looking like for you? Well, that could be what manifests now, some sort of divine healing. Be that in the body, in the mind, in the spiritual. What does divine healing look like? Because that's something the eclipse can bring. Well, thank you one and all for sojourning with me through this very powerful eclipse. I can't wait for it. Even though eclipses can bring very heavy duty things, I do look forward to them because I can't stand stagnation. And if there's one thing an eclipse will do, it will bring stagnation to an end. And I'm really ready for that. I hope you are too. Enjoy the eclipse. Leave comments if you would like about what it's brought you. And I'll catch you with a video next week.